All right. I think we are back. Let me. All right. Oh, it's just the worst. Why in the world does anyone ever try to stream anything? Okay. Let's get back to this. All right. All right. Okay. Here we are. We are back. Yes, Gary. We are back. Let me I'm gonna throw this in the Facebook group real quick. And so help me if this breaks again. I'm going to send a very strongly worded letter to the internet. Okay. Anyway, so where were we? If memory serves, we were at the point. Oh, it's just a pain. Okay. So, enough of that though. Let's get to the business which we are engaged in. And now, oh God willing, this is gonna work. And if it doesn't, so help me. Uh oh my goodness. The list. And here we are. Okay. So we have talked about witchcraft. We've got our summary out of the way. We've talked about some of the problems. And the question is, where does it go? And if you recall, which there is no reason why you would, there is a little bit of a Mason Dixon line in our list. And it's right around here. This cleansing hour infested Rec 4 area where cleansing hour has turned into the movie that is like we've got that like I can recommend this. Like I think people should see the cleansing hour. It's not perfect. It's not a great movie, but there are things about it that are really interesting. And so witchcraft definitely going to be below that line. I would not recommend witchcraft. The question is, how bad is it? How far down the list does it sink? Well, let's look at the last thing on our list, the Unknown Visitor. Is it as bad as Unknown Visitor? Absolutely not. Unknown Visitor, one of the worst films foisted on the general public. Uh, Better than Gods of the Deep, better than Vampire Next Door. Ooh, Lost Voyage. Is it better than Lost Voyage? Lost Voyage is really cheap and it's also kind of boring, but it does have Judd Nelson. And Judd Nelson, hmm. Judd Nelson at least makes it interesting because he was in the Breakfast Club. And that's science. Like I don't want to get too wrapped up in the nuts and bolts of this, but Judd Nelson does equal like an eighth of a star in a movie. Okay. Mm, I think this may be it, you guys. I think it is better than the Vampire Next Door. It is not as good as Lost Voyage. So the good news is, by starting um, at the bottom, we rapidly approach Witchcraft's position on our list. Witchcraft now the new number 40 on this list. Space Jesus. All right. Well, we'll get in it. Okay. So, one down, 9 to go. Let's get into you know what? Let's stick with some fun, older movies and let's see where we end up with a little movie I like to call Tourist Trap. Now, Tourist Trap, again, we are in the world of, hey, maybe this isn't a very good movie, uh, but there is something about Tourist Trap. Like, all right, let me say this. I saw Tourist Trap as a kid, as a very young man. And there was something about it that always hung with me. And it wasn't until I went back to it later that I realized, like, oh, I don't know that this is very good. Uh, this is directed by a guy named David Schmeller, who is also known for directing a movie called Little Monsters. Did Crawl Space, the Klaus Kinski movie in '86. This was in '79, and I would have been about 6 years old when this movie came out. I don't know. Hmm. I don't know if Tourist Trap was, if I saw it when it came out. Not long after. I feel like it falls into a category in my head with a movie called Without Warning, which is a movie with um oh, who was in that? Jack Palance, and who was the guy from the Mission Impossible show, and Ed Wood, whose name I can't, Martin Landau. He's in it too. Like, it's got a crazy stacked cast. Um, but not Tourist Trap. Tourist Trap only has, well, two real stars. Actually, three if you want to consider it this way. Chuck Connors, aka the Rifleman, is in it, and he's the big star of the movie. It's got a very young Tanya Roberts. And the reason that I say maybe it's 3 stars is because Tanya Roberts' breasts are featured prominently. There is no nudity in this movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not that exciting. But she is in it, and she's young, and she's also brunette, which I wonder is probably her natural hair color. And she just went blonde because it was the '80s and that was the style at the time. But Tourist Trap, what is it? Okay, so what if you saw the movie Carrie, but you also had a weird fixation with mannequins, and someone had told you kind of the plot of the movie Sisters, but you were only halfway listening. And that would lead you to write something like Tourist Trap. The premise is you have a bunch of kids who run afoul of a tourist trap, a roadside stand that is a museum of like a wax museum that is cowboys and Native Americans, and General Custer is there. And Chuck Connors runs the place. He is constantly telling people that the highway used to run by the tourist trap, and it has since moved, or they built a new highway or something. And so now he just kind of hangs out, and he talks about how he's got this brother of his that used to do all these wax sculptures who went off to New York. And you're like, nah, it's probably not what happened. um the thing that's kind of interesting about Tourist Trap is it's not just a straightforward slasher, because it has this telekinesis element that you discover in the movie, where it turns out that Chuck Connor's brother has this power to manipulate objects, but also maybe to turn people into mannequins, and definitely to make mannequins move. It's a real mannequin fest, a mannequin palooza, if you will. And one by one the kids kind of get got and are turned into mannequins, kind of, but it's all real messy. Like, the thing about Tourist Trap, and upon recent viewing, is it's just a sloppy movie. It's people running all over the place, and Chuck Connors has this reveal later in the film that doesn't really make a difference. um where, spoilers for Tourist Trap, where Chuck Connor's brother didn't go to New York. He is the brother, but it turns out he was having an affair with his brother's wife, and the brother caught him, and he ended up using his telekinesis powers to turn one of them into a mannequin and kill the other one, I assume. Um, Also, the way Chuck Connors, this is unrelated, but it's probably worth saying, the way that Chuck Connors uses or says the word water moccasin. He's got this kind of southern, all right, everybody's gonna turn into a mannequin. Yes, and as Gary points out, not the Kim Control kind of mannequin where she's like really pretty and you fall in love. They're just mannequins that as you see in the poster, have this weird cutout face sort of thing. So Chuck Connors sometimes wears a mask, as in a slasher movie kind of way, but it also wants to be this weird telekinetic monster movie, and none of those pieces hang together very well, and it's not very well explained. The broad strokes, right? But in terms of what about this telekinesis and, like, look, I hate to get literary about all of this, but there is a world in which um, there is a good movie where Chuck Connor's brother has like usurped the throne, if you will, and has taken over this tourist trap, and you get kind of an exploration of his loneliness and the fact that he's always been apart because his brother and his family told him never to use these powers and that sort of thing, but none of that ever happens because it's not a terribly well thought out movie. So that brings us to the ranking. Where do we put Tourist Trap, a 1979, a movie that is almost 50 years old and is a real mishmash of genres and subgenres, none of which actually will make you happy or entertain you. So none of that's going to happen. Is it a good movie? Would I recommend it? I'll tell you what. Enough of this nonsense. Let's pull up the list and let's talk about it. Tourist Trap. Do we recommend it? Would I recommend this movie to someone? No. Time is fleeting. You only have so much of it. As Joseph was kind enough to say, I am heroically throwing the moments of my life into an ash heap so that you do not have to. I would not recommend Tourist Trap. There's probably a supercut of weird stuff from the movie on YouTube, and you could watch that, but none of it really stands out. There's not like a really great kill. There's not a, even as wacky as it is, and it is kind of wacky and weird, but it's not so wacky and weird. It's not like a Dead Alive or something where it's like, you got to see this movie. It's just crazy. And it's not that crazy. So it's real mediocre. Yeah, Gary's saying that the House of Wax remake a better movie along these lines. 100%. Now I'm speaking out of turn. We have not done the science. I cannot speak with full authority and say that House of Wax, the remake, is a better movie than Tourist Trap because it is not part of tonight's episode, unfortunately. What I can say is, in a non-scientific way, if you ask me what movie I want to watch right now, it would be the House of Wax remake. In fact, I've been thinking about it a lot, maybe because I watched Tourist Trap. So where does it go? It's gonna be below Cleansing Hour, for sure. It is certainly no pieces either. It's worse than Rec 4. It's worse than Vacancy. TerrorNet is an interesting one. Is it um is it better or worse than The Exorcist Believer? A movie that has good acting. It has, and that's about it. It has good acting and good production values. Let's see. Is it better or worse than Exorcist Believer? It's worse than Exorcist Believer. Is it better or worse than Ghost Ship? It's worse than Ghost Ship. Is it better or worse than The Strangers Chapter 1? which is a pretty bad movie. I don't think it is. I don't think it's worse than The Strangers Chapter 1, which does have better production value, but at least Tourist Trap, I'm not going to go so far as to call it an original idea, but it's kind of original that you threw all this stuff together to see if it would work, and that's kind of interesting. All right, I like that. Let's do your new number 33 um is Tourist Trap, the 33rd best movie ever made. Uh, and Gary asks if Vacancy is the Luke Wilson joint. It is, in fact, the Luke Wilson joint. I can't remember which episode. I ought to go back and label which episode these appear on. I might do that at some point. Okay, so Tourist Trap in the books, Witchcraft in the books. Let's do something maybe a little bit more fun. And let's do a movie entitled. Oh, hang on. Oh, I don't mean to tease you. Let's do a movie called They Will Kill You. This is one of the more recent films that we're going to talk about tonight. They Will Kill You is very similar in premise to the movie Ready or Not. In fact, when I saw the trailer for They Will Kill You, I saw that at the same time the trailer for Ready or Not Part 2 played. And the similarities between the two were striking, and it gave me a little bit of a bad taste. It really made me not want to see They Will Kill You because it felt like such a ripoff of a premise that I really liked. I really like Ready or Not. Where at some point we'll do both of those films. But I like the first one quite a bit. And seeing the trailer for They Will Kill You, especially on the heels of seeing the trailer for the second Ready or Not movie, it really made me wonder, what is the point of doing this movie? You know, like, can this movie justify its existence? Or is it just a carbon copy of another movie? And you know that happens. There's the Volcano and Deep Impacts. No, wait, what was the other one? Oh, Armageddon and Deep Impact and Volcano and Dante's Peak. Those are the, side by side. Hey, we've got to have a volcano movie. And I wonder if They Will Kill You fell into that sort of, hey, Ready or Not was great. Somebody give me a script that is similar to a Ready or Not, and we'll make one of our own, maybe. It is directed by a guy named Kirill Sokolov, who did some movies called Why Don't You Just Die? Um, No Looking Back. I don't think I've seen any of these movies. Also co-written by him and another guy named Alex Litvak, who was one of the writers on the new Masters of the Universe movie. He was a writer on Predators, which is a movie that I don't hate. And so, he's been bouncing around some big Hollywood movies. Stars Zazie Beetz. Patricia Arquette is in this as well. Um, Anyone else? Tom Felton, aka that Malfoy kid from the Harry Potter movies. Heather Graham is in it from what is Heather Graham? What is the thing people know? I guess Boogie Nights. She was Roller Girl in Boogie Nights. I don't know what else you would know Heather Graham from at this point. When I think of Heather Graham, what I think of is the made for Lifetime Flowers in the Attic movies, which are among the finest films I've ever seen. I've watched those multiple times and I love it. So, finally seeing the movie, what is the premise? Well, it's kind of similar to Ready or Not, where Zazie Beetz is a maid who enters this very exclusive and um, not isolated, but a building that kind of goes on lockdown once you're inside, where she is going to be attending some of the rich folks who live in this apartment building. But you realize pretty quickly that something is up in this apartment. And one of the things I really like about They Will Kill You is that it does not waste any time getting to the premise of the film and getting to the action of the film. And that's really where the movie shines. For those of you who have not seen They Will Kill You, I'm not going to reveal everything about it, but I will say, and I think the trailer gives most of this away, that she is suddenly, Zazie Beats' character suddenly is surrounded by people who want to kill her as part of this sacrificial ritual so that they can have immortal life. So where this movie differs from Ready or Not, and there's plenty of subtle differences, but the main one is one thing that Zazie Beats realizes is I can hack these people up, but I cannot kill them because they're unkillable. You know, they are immortal beings so long as this ritual continues to take place. Which is an interesting way to go, right? Like how do you survive a night trapped in a building with people who, despite the fact that you can hack them up, they will eventually sort of reconstitute and find their pieces again. And there's some good gags with how particularly Heather Graham uses a part of her body to achieve other ends, because you can kind of manipulate that a little bit. And that part of it is pretty fun. The other thing that I really like about it, and it happens early in the film, as soon as Zazie Beetz starts, you know, kicking butt in the movie, there is a point where she slices off someone's hand, and there is a Yoshihira Nishimura, may his memory be a blessing, level of like arterial spray. Like it's ridiculous. And that is where this and Ready or Not tonally are very different. They Will Kill You is much sillier. It is a movie intended to be over the top and ridiculous. Another thing I'll say about They Will Kill You, great soundtrack. There's a Nova Twin song, a Nova Twins needle drop at the end of this movie that made me go to Spotify and find the song and say, like, I need this on a playlist. It's that good. So They Will Kill You is a good movie. Or is it? So, well, let's do some ranking. Um, where can we put a movie like They Will Kill You on our list? Well, let's start as we normally do at the cleansing hour. The cleansing hour, barely recommendable, but interesting. This I would recommend. This is a movie I would definitely tell you if you haven't seen They Will Kill You and you're looking for a movie that's a good time. Um, They Will Kill You is that. It is a good time. It's not super long. The performances are fun. Patricia Arquette's fun in it. Heather Graham's fun in it. Zazie Beetz is great. There's a twist. There's your third act twist in the film, which I do not find to be very twisty. It felt like something that was to be expected. But when it gets to the final, sort of conflict of the film, it kind of goes places, and more so even than Ready or Not. Like, which is the bloodier film? They Will Kill You. Definitely a bloodier movie than Ready or Not. Have not seen the sequel. Cannot speak to that. Um. Okay, so with all that in mind, would I rather watch? Not let's not even say it like that, because remember, we're hard at work on science here. This isn't about personal preference. Is They Will Kill You a better film than The Cleansing Hour? Yes. Is it better than Infested, the killer spider movie? Yes. Is it better than Wreck 2? See, this is where the science has flown in the face of what some people believe. A lot of people will tell you Rec 2 is just as good as Rec. Not if you look at the list. Rec way up here, number 4. Rec 2, number 24. That's just science, people. So the question is Rec 2 better or worse than They Will Kill You? I think it's worse than They Will Kill You, which is interesting because we're dealing with two movies that have similar, not similar premises, but both of them are borrowing from previous material. Like They Will Kill You, it's hard to imagine does not exist in a world without Ready or Not, or is not made in a world without Ready or Not. Um, Rec 2, borrowing heavily from the first film, not as successful. Is They Will Kill You as good as Ready or Not? I don't think it is. I think Ready or Not is a better film. Obviously, that is before we apply science to it. But, push come to shove, if I'm thinking about, matching performance to performance, thinking about the script, uh, even the setting, I would argue, is a little more interesting in Ready or Not. The premise is similar but not exact, and I think a little more fun. But like I said, They Will Kill You go some places that Ready or Not won't or doesn't. It's sillier. So it is better than Rec 2. Is it better than Under Paris? Which is not a great movie, but it is also very silly and has some really good shark deaths in it. Um it is it is better than Under Paris. And this is where we get into some sacrilege territory. Is it better or worse than Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery? Which is not one of the better Fulci movies. It's still Fulci. Is this better or worse than The House by the Cemetery? It's more logical. It's like even the extremity of the gore. Fulci, definitely piles it on in House by the Cemetery, but not like City of the Living Dead. That's the real classic. Again, that one way up the list at number 6. It's like I see the ceiling. They Will Kill You, not better than We Are Still Here. We Are Still Here, which again, as I go through this list, I have this weird affinity for We Are Still Here. Even though it's not my favorite movie to watch, there are things about it that I think are kind of classy and interesting. And it's Fulci inspired, but it's not exactly a Fulci movie. So They Will Kill You. The question is They Will Kill You going to be a buffer between Fulci and a movie that is somewhat inspired by Fulci? Um, or does it belong next door to Under Paris? And I think that's right. I think this movie, I think it hits a ceiling. Like I'm just looking at the list. Overlord is probably a better movie, objectively a better movie. Arachnophobia, a better movie. 85's House is better for being a little bit bananas. Yeah. We're in the right place. Is it better than Sting? Is it better than Rec 3? I'm one of the few people that will tell you that Rec 3 Genesis uh is all right. It's not great, but it's all right. Yeah. All right. Let's do this. They Will Kill You, the new number 23. Uh I think that feels right to me. Okay. Man, sometimes science is difficult. Make no mistake. Science can be hard. All right. Let's do our next film here. Oh, Friends and Neighbors. Let's get to it. The Mortuary Assistant. One of the things that I wanted to do when I was coming back to this and looking at movies I want to do for this list, partially inspired by the mortuary assistant, I wanted to look at some movies that were video game related, video game inspired. The mortuary assistant, which I have never played, I have seen a let's play of it that I thought was pretty fun. And the, all right, how to approach this? How to approach the mortuary assistant? It is a indie slash low budget kind of video game in which you are a lone mortuary assistant trying to perform a series of tasks, as sort of a Five Nights at Freddy's clock ticks down of like, you need to survive the night kind of thing. And the mortuary assistant, the film version of it, borrows heavily from that. Now, I did not play the game. Like I said, I watched the game played, and I thought it was interesting. And so it was. This felt like something that you could adapt pretty easily to a film form, and then you see the movie. And here's the biggest problem I find with the mortuary assistant, and that is the mortuary assistant exists in a world in which the autopsy of Jane Doe also exists. And that is such a better movie. Again, not on our list tonight, so I cannot objectively say that the science will bear this out. But in thinking about it, the mortuary assistant just not as good as the autopsy of Jane Doe. The other problem that you get into with this is that it there are a lot of moving parts in this movie. There's a lot of ritual stuff, and there are big stretches of the movie where the main character, who I guess I should take a step back and say, this is a movie in which an intern, a mortician to be, um, that they, uh, the mortician to be, I mean, she has to essentially avoid possession. And that happens pretty quickly. Like early on in the movie, it's like there's some weird stuff going on. Also, the guy who owns the funeral home, or the, I don't know, what would you call it? It's, is it a funeral home? It feels more mechanical than that. I guess it is. Anyway, a mortuary. The guy who owns the mortuary. It's a mortuary assistant. What am I even saying? Um the mortuary, the guy who owns the mortuary has all this stuff, uh you know laying around, all these trinkets and tools and notes and strips of paper that you got to burn so you can see stuff glow on the walls and that kind of thing. And meanwhile, the intern is getting possessed, but she's fighting it, and there's somebody chained up downstairs, and then she's going home and blacking out, and maybe she killed a friend and maybe she didn't. The problem is with saying all of that, the movie is dreadfully, dreadfully dull. There, Willa Holland, who plays the intern in question, you may recall from the TV show Arrow, she was the younger sister of Oliver Queen on that show, and she's not a bad actress. She acquits herself reasonably well, but it's just, and like it feels like such a drag to watch her go from note to note and trying to figure all this out, and there's no human connection whatsoever. Like, I don't know anything about her other than the fact that she's in this position and has had a drug problem, which weirdly a theme tonight, huh? um yeah, all of that stuff, like there's plenty of ingredients that make the mortuary assistant interesting, but it's mixed all wrong, and the direction I find to be not just sluggish. At no point did anyone say, like, is this fun or scary? Because it ought to be one of those things, and it's not either of them. Um, it was directed by a guy named Jeremiah Kipp, just to give you the stats on this, who directed the movie Slapface, which I never saw, and something called The Geechee Witch, which I never saw that either. Slapface, did I see Slapface? I did see Slapface, and I remember not caring that much for that. I thought that was interesting, but also a little dull. I think maybe Jeremiah Kipp just makes movies that I find kind of boring, and that's no good. Anyway, just Tracy Beebe is the writer of this. She has only written shorts previous to this. And yeah, there's just no sense of propulsion. There's no engine to the movie. Even though the character is going from this thing to this thing to this thing, you don't really care about her. You don't really care about what's going on. The mythology of the movie is confusing, and there's a lot of, structural things that the movie tries to do to play with time and place, and none of that is all that effective. So all that said, let's how about we rank this thing? Um, and where would something like The Mortuary Assistant show up? Okay, once again, let's start with Cleansing Hour. Is this movie better or worse than The Cleansing Hour? Definitely worse than The Cleansing Hour. Worse than Rick for Apocalypse, which at least has zombie monkeys. Worse than Vacancy, which is also kind of dull and silly, but not like this. Um, oof, oof. Yeah, Exorcist Believer's probably better. Ghost Ship at least has that first scene. Mm, Tourist Trap has water moccasins. Ooh, The Strangers Chapter 1. Ooh, that's rough. Ugh, that is unoriginal. Which this is an adaptation of a video game, so I guess like mm, it's better than The Devil Inside, which is will infuriate you. Like Yellow Brick Road. Like, we're better than The Devil Inside. We're worse than Tourist Trap. We are somewhere in that range. It's better than Life of Bell. I don't know that it's better than Chasing the Devil. Chasing the Devil is not a great movie. It's really cheap. It's mediocre found footage, but it does have that kind of cool scene in the middle of it with the possessed girl. And there's an interesting lore at work that's reasonably well explained. I think that's it. I think The Mortuary Assistant is going to be our new number 37. There we go. Very good. All right. Let's get to our next bit of business here. Um okay. Let's stick with some video games. Let's do it, folks. Let's talk some Silent Hill. I think it's about time we discussed the Silent Hill films, especially now that there are 3 of them. So we're going to do all 3. And we're going to do it in reasonably quick succession here, considering that we've been at this for about an hour with technical difficulties, in fairness. So, Silent Hill. Silent Hill is a game for perverts and weirdos. Uh, it's okay. So the game itself is a study in psychological horror, where psychological monsters of the id, creatures that are born of the subconscious, that those things uh spring to life. They're made manifest in horrific ways, and you are, as the player, forced to sort of confront the character's psychological demons. More so in Silent Hill 2. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But like, long story short, this lady in this super conservative town has a baby out of wedlock, and then there's a local crazy lady who leads a group of people to burn the child alive. But the child survives, but she's in intense pain and wants revenge. And so this little sneaky demon comes to this horribly abused and tortured young girl and says, "Hey, if you want me to get revenge on this town, just say the word." And so she does. And basically, this demon creates this alternate dimension in which the people who hurt this girl are forced to suffer and be pursued by these hideous creatures that you probably, if you ever saw the movie or just the posters or the trailer, like the nurses that have the scalpels, and um, the pyramid head guy who is never really explained, he just is. The nurses you can kind of understand because there is a relation to that. I'm not sure the movie ever bothers to explain what Pyramid Head is or where it comes from. It's sort of the thug of the bouncer of this purgatory that this demon has created. But Silent Hill also, should say it's directed by this guy named Christoph Gans, who came back to do the third one, which we will talk about in a minute. Um, but Silent Hill is, it's got atmosphere and it's got mood, but it's really confusing. It's also cursed with that, early CGI where it's well, how early was it, as a matter of fact? 2006, so 20 years ago. um the effects are not very good. It feels very of its time in that way, but there is something to it. There's something interesting about Silent Hill as a movie. The downside of Silent Hill as a movie, over 2 hours long, and that is wrong, friends and neighbors. You do not have a Silent Hill movie that runs 2 hours and 5 minutes as this one does. That's way, way, way too much. Um, Probably should point out, like, this is sort of anchored by some pretty good actors: Rhoda Mitchell, Laurie Holden, Sean Bean. There's a surprise Alice Krieg appearance. Deborah Kara Unger is in it. Kim Coates. So there are real actors at work in this movie. But it's not. I don't know. I mean, probably the most interesting scene in the movie, and by interesting I mean kind of affecting, where you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this," is when Laurie Holden's police officer character is burned alive, and that's pretty gnarly. So yeah, let's chew this one over, because I don't know, where does this go? Where does this go on our list? Um is it a good movie? Is it a movie that's good enough to recommend to someone? That's really tough. You know what? All right, let's start with The Cleansing Hour. Is it better or worse than The Cleansing Hour? It's it's too long. Not Silent Hill, not The Cleansing Hour. It's too long. It drags. It's confusing. The effects aren't great, but it does have this. It does have an atmosphere. It does have a mood like if more happened in Silent Hill, if you cut it down to an hour 40, hour 45, and kind of tweak the story a little bit, it might be a pretty good movie. Um, I think it might be better than The Cleansing Hour. In fact, it is better than The Cleansing Hour. Is it better than Infested? Is it better than Rec 2? Is it better than Under Paris? Definitely not better than Under Paris, which is, again, a real dumb movie, but it's kind of fun. Rec 2, it's not as good as Rec 2. Rec 2 at least has some effective moments in it. It's probably better than Infested. I think this is where we land, folks. I think this is going to be your new number 26. Okay. Okay. Well, the work doesn't end there. Let's talk about Silent Hill Revelations. Silent Hill Revelations, the sequel, of course, to Silent Hill. This one came out in 2012, so 6 years after the fact. Does not have any of the original characters. Sean Bean is in it briefly, but he is incidental at best to this movie. Um, it's very clear it's a different director. Everything feels a little bit more shoddy, and also so much of, especially the front end of it, doesn't happen in Silent Hill. And it made me ask the question, what makes a Silent Hill movie? Like, what are the essential elements of a movie in which you are, that you're going to slap the Silent Hill name on? You need the scary nurses. You need Pyramid Head. You need the weird armless dudes that wiggle around. You need emotional trauma becoming metaphor. You need the ashy snow. You need the static on the radio. You need the reality flipping back and forth. And this movie has that stuff, but it all just feels slightly worse. It feels like it's in the hands of someone who does not. Fog, yes, we definitely need fog, as Joseph points out. Yes, right. So this one's directed by MJ Bassett, who directed a movie called Solomon Kane that I remember watching forever ago. She did 4 episodes of Ash versus Evil Dead, and that's not nothing. Was written by Laurent Hadida, who wrote only this, which, I get it. Um, yeah, it's just not very good. Also, Kit Harrington shows up in this. Carrie Ann Moss is sort of the big bad of the movie. Rhoda Mitchell and Sean Bean are kind of dancing around the edges of this movie, but they're not as prominent as they should be. Like, this should be an extension of the first movie, and in some ways it is, but it doesn't really feel like it hangs together. Like, there's this adult daughter, Sharon, I think is her name, um that where Sean Bean has like this new adoptive daughter, and they're going town to town, and the ghost of Rhoda Mitchell shows up at one point and is like, "Hey, I'm stuck in Silent Hill, but I brought our daughter back at the end of the first movie, which you probably don't remember, but I'm still stuck in Silent Hill." And so the young daughter is having all these visions of the place, and then Kit Harrington shows up, and it turns out that he's part of this cult, and that's where things get messy. Like, the lore of this movie just gets so messy and complicated and confusing. Um, There's businesses with like amulets, and it's just nuts. And like at one point, um, Carrie Ann Moss becomes this like Silent Hill Cenobite and fights Pyramid Head at the end of it, and it's all just terrible. And the movie ends, worse than all of that. The movie ends with Sean Bean being like, I can't leave. Like the daughter and Kit Harrington can run off, but I've got to go find my wife who is still stuck here. And he's like, also, there's going to be another demon because this is a Native American place of lost souls. And then, the fog and snow starts again, and Sean Bean disappears at the end of this. It's really, really not good. Um, oh, Joseph says a pipe should also be in this. Yeah, I can see that. I think a pipe makes sense. Um, okay. So with all that said, let's take a look at where we might rank such a thing. Where will this movie, Silent Hill Revelation, fall on our list? Okay, well, let's start with Silent Hill. It is worse than Silent Hill for sure. That's going to put it beneath the cleansing hour because it is not a movie I would recommend. Wreck for Apocalypse, you're going to have better time watching that. Vacancy, better movie. TerrorNet, better movie. Phoenix Incident, not great. Oh boy. Oh, we're getting into some rough territory here. Is Ghost Ship better than Silent Hill Revelation 3D, which I did not watch in 3D? Ghost Ship has one good scene and then it's really boring. Silent Hill Revelation, is it as boring? Uh, it's only like 90 minutes long. And there's something to be said for that. It's brief. I'm looking at this list, folks, and is it better or worse than Tourist Trap? Is it better or worse than Ghost Ship? But we're in the right place. We're in the right place. It's better than The Mortuary Assistant. It's mm, it's it's better than The Strangers Chapter 1. Is it better than Tourist Trap? Scientifically speaking, is Silent Hill Revelation better than Ghost Ship? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think the science tells us that Ghost Ship has um, Joseph pointing out Tourist Trap has kitsch. Yes. But I will say that Silent Hill Revelation it kind of goes off the rails. Like it's a real mess, but does it does there is something to be said for the crazy nature of the thing. And I think Tourist Trap, they're both really messy. I think Silent Hill is maybe messy in a more interesting way. It's definitely no Ghost Ship. I think I don't know. I'm thinking about this now that Joseph has pointed this out. Definitely better. It's just the question is it better or worse than Tourist Trap? Which Chuck Connor's pretty fun in Tourist Trap. Yeah, yeah, Joseph, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think the Chuck Connors of it all, and Silent Hill Revelation has Kit Harrington, and that immediately will place it below Tourist Trap. So Silent Hill Revelation, the new number 36. Okay. Well, believe it or not, they made another one of these Silent Hill movies, and let's talk about it. It's called Return to Silent Hill. And ironically, Return to Silent Hill, which Christoph Gans back in the driver's seat. He comes back 20 years after the first to talk about this one. Um, it's under 2 hours this time, which good for him. This is written by Christoph Gans and somebody named Sandra Vohan, who I think is a French writer, wrote Beauty and the Beast, the French version of that came out recently. Stars Jeremy Irvine, Hannah Emily Anderson, Liliana Valemirov. Stop me when the stars are all out tonight. Juliana Pelagatti, Evie Templeton, Robert Strange, Pierce Egan. I'm just looking for a name I've ever seen before, and I don't think I found one. So this was like, I'm a sucker. That's what this comes down to. I am a sucker for, hey, Silent Hill, which, as we establish, as science has proven, not a great movie, but certainly kind of interesting. And the director of that is coming back to, reinvigorate the franchise, perhaps. And he went to the well of Silent Hill 2, the game, which I played forever and ever ago, but it's it's very close to the event. Like the Return to Silent Hill, ironically, is closer to the plots of the video game Silent Hill 2, and yet results in a worse movie. The bad ADR from the original Silent Hill has continued. I will say the visual storytelling of Return to Silent Hill way better than Silent Hill Revelation. But Christoph Gans, who is probably best known, I know I keep mentioning him, but he's probably best known for being the guy who directed Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is a pretty good movie. Scientifically speaking, I cannot tell you how good, but it was pretty good. Um, but he's back, and the visual flair is back. The dialogue delivery not very good. It's a slog to get through. The creature designs are kind of fun. The visuals are kind of fun. Um, but I don't know how anybody can watch Return to Silent Hill and feel entertained. I suppose that's the biggest problem. And all right, so what is Return to Silent Hill? So this guy uh almost runs down a woman. He's on his way past the town of Silent Hill. Um, he almost, due to a near collision, gets entangled with this woman who he falls in love with, and she disappears. And he is led back to Silent Hill to find her. And of course, the world is corrupted, and he has to fight all these monsters that are born of trauma. And in particular, by the time you get to the end of it, and that's really where the interesting stuff lies, uh, where he is battling a creature that is like his girlfriend as this bed monster, which is an allusion to the fact that she was carrying this trauma of having been in a cult, and the implication is that she was sexually abused. And so there is a good movie to be made of this stuff. In fact, other people have made good movies where trauma and horror is used as a metaphor for, sexual trauma, childhood trauma, etc., etc. It is loosely based on Silent Hill 2, as Joseph asked. But yeah, it is based on that game. Not a one to one, but it definitely has elements like the bed monster. The problem is, it's just it, like with all of these movies, it just feels like a job. It feels like you're just clawing your way through these movies um to get to like one set piece, but the performances aren't good enough to emotionally connect you to anything. The world is interesting, you know, like, as I said, the creatures and so forth, but that's just not enough to get you anywhere. All right, enough of this. Let's let's rank this thing. Return to Silent Hill. Let's start with Silent Hill. It is definitely worse than that. What about Silent Hill Revelation? You know, here's the thing, you guys. This is closer, as I said, it's closer to an actual Silent Hill video game, but it's probably the worst Silent Hill movie. Even though it does have the Christoph Gans visual flair, the characters are terrible. You just can't care. And there's so much manipulation with the time and setting and all that, that at a certain point you're just like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what's going on, and I don't care. And that's a rough place to be. So it is worse than Silent Hill Revelation. It is. It's worse than Strangers Chapter 1. Is it better or worse than The Mortuary Assistant? That's kind of in the ballpark. The visuals are better, so it's better than that. It's better than Chasing the Devil. Just like that, we can put all this Silent Hill business to bed right now. Return to Silent Hill. Ooh, ooh. The caps lock got stuck, and it looked creepier. Okay, you're number 38. Return to Silent Hill. We have talked about a lot of bad movies tonight, and why stop now? I say. So let's do another video game movie real quick. This one is called "It Came from the Desert." It Came from the Desert is based on an old video game, like uh, the kind that used to come on floppies. Uh, not the, what were they, 5 1/4, but the 3 1/8, maybe. I can't remember. It's been a long time since those floppy disks found their way into my life. This came out in 2017, about 10 years old, directed by Marco Macalaxo, who directed this and a movie called War of the Dead, which I feel like I've seen and I don't remember. Interestingly, written by Trent Haga, who is sort of a horror movie mainstay. Um, been a horror actor forever. Has written a bunch of horror movies, notably Toxic Avenger 4. He wrote Dead Girl, which is a movie I quite like. Wrote Cheap Thrills, which is a movie I quite like. Um, was a writer on the video game The Evil Within, as well as the sequel. So, uh, a producer, like, he is thanked by all kinds of people in various, uh, eh, you know, uh, acknowledgments in horror movies and whatnot. And so, there's some pedigree to this to an extent. But the basic premise is long ago, this comet falls to Earth and it's filled with, radiation or whatever, and it makes ants get all mutated. And a government agency jumps on this and they create ant spider hybrids, as you see in the poster there, if you're for watching the stream. Um, and, it is very much a B movie, 50s inspired. Here's some knuckleheads going to a dirt bike party in the middle of the desert who run afoul of these giant spiders and ants. Um, that's the broad strokes of it. There's, the two of the guys. One of them's the bike rider. His engineer is along and has a crush on this girl who he thinks is out of the league, but wouldn't you know it, she likes him, and the only reason she goes along on all these motorbike uh excursions is to be with him. And there's a minor love story. It's something in this movie. uh and that's kind of it. I mean, there's not a lot to say about It Came from the Desert because there's not a lot to this movie. um let me All right, the writing and the acting, pretty amateurish. There's a lot of references to other movies, but this goes back to one of my core problems. If you are going to be a movie that references a bunch of other movies, you need to be a good movie in your own right? Um and it's built to be funny. There are jokes. I've I could put in sneer quotes here. There are jokes, but it's not funny enough to be a parody, and it's not tense or scary enough to be a real thriller, which leaves it in this space where it's kind of nothing. Um, and sets itself up for a sequel, which it teases early in the movie, but never does anything with. And, the sequel to the video game actually probably would have been what the sequel of the movie was if they ever made one. But it's, let's be real. It Came from the Desert was never going to get a sequel. That's a wonderful idea, but it's not going to, Joseph asks, would an Eric Roberts appearance save this? Hmm, maybe. Like if you just had somebody that knew what the tone of the movie was. But it's so cheap. The acting is really, like, I hate to criticize actors because it's a hard job, and the script I don't think is great, and that's not doing the actors any favors at all. But I don't, nothing about the writing or the acting or the effects in particular. um it's all real CGI'd up. And um also there's an explosion that happens off screen at the climax of this movie that's real dumb, but you kind of need it for a surprise at the end. Not worth getting into, other than to say, um, there's a little bit of an Aliens vibe to it. And in fact, one of the characters name checks Aliens, which again, don't talk about better movies in your bad movie. Otherwise, you bet comparison, and It Came from the Desert is not going to hold up. But it is a creature feature, and I love a creature feature. The question is, does It Came from the Desert have enough creature feature goodness to put it above the cleansing hour on our list? I.e., would we in fact expect that this is a movie I would recommend? And it is not. It Came from the Desert, not worth it. Um, okay. Vacancy, better movie. Exorcist Believer, better movie. Tourist Trap, better movie. Return to Silent Hill. Oof. Is Return to Silent Hill a better movie than It Came from the Desert? Yes, it probably is because it's at least playing with ideas. Um, is it better or worse than The Devil Inside? It's better than The Devil Inside because it won't make you overtly angry. It's not as tasteless as Life of Bell. Brings us to a movie that we talked about earlier, The Mortuary Assistant. Um, all right, let me say this. There is almost nothing worse than a comedy that is not funny. And that is the place we find ourselves here. It is a comedy that isn't funny. I don't think I ever laughed in the course of the film. It's too broad. It's too obvious. Um, the mortuary assistant is not good, hence its position on the list. But it's more it's more interesting. It at least is trying for something more. So we are going to place It Came from the Desert uh, between Mortuary Assistant and Life of Bell. And that, my friends, is not where you want to be. Okay, we got a couple more to go here. Let's, in fact, exactly two more to go. Let's do this one next. This will be fun. Good Boy. Let's talk about it. Good Boy is a movie from, when did Good Boy come out? Last year, was it 2025? Yes. Okay. Picked up by Shutter. If you want to watch it, it's hanging out over there on Shutter, I think. Was on Hulu as well. Written and directed by Ben Leonberg, and also co-written with Alex Cannon, who had written some shorts, um, and something called Natural Causes I've never seen from a few years ago. Anyway, stars Shane Jensen and, more importantly, Indy the dog. Um, and the basics of it are this: you have a guy who is sick, perhaps, definitely going through something, has moved into the family home where their grandfather killed himself some years before. And the sister in the film is against this, wants her brother to be closer, wants to make sure that he's taking care of himself as he's dealing with this illness. Seems to be an illness that the grandfather had as well. Played, I would point out, by Larry Fessenden, which is always a welcome appearance. And so the movie largely is about him moving back into this home, which is haunted by something that you never get a completely clear picture of what the thing is exactly, but that's kind of not the point of the movie. Indy the dog is the star of the film. The movie, the gimmick of the movie, if you will, is that the entire film is told from the point of view of the dog, of Indy the dog. And rarely are you in a scene where you are not at Indy's level, even. But certainly you are not privy to more information than Indy the dog. Although, as a human being, you can piece together more of the story than Indy. Although there is, like, Indy is a little bit of a dog detective, and I'm not against that. Like, I love my dogs. In fact, you may have seen here in the guest room, you may have seen one or both of them behind me. And one of the reasons it took me a while to get around to seeing this movie is I was afraid this is going to be a movie in which Indy the dog ends up in a bad way. And so I'm going to spoil this. Indy the dog does not die in the movie. I'm not going to tell you more than that about Indy's fate, but I will say this dog does not die. And that I'm glad that the movie doesn't go that route. People talked a big game about how good this dog is in the movie, and it turns out they were right. Indy the dog, terrific actor, right up there with the dog from The Thing in terms of getting, looks and behaviors from this dog. I don't know how hard this movie must have been to shoot to get this dog to react how you need it to. But regardless, it comes off. Good Boy is a surprisingly good movie. It's not going to change your life, but it's a good short horror film. Another thing to point out, this movie is an hour and 5 minutes long, hour 10, something like that. Like this movie does not run 90 minutes, which is perfect because in a movie that has very little dialogue, where you are following this dog around most of the time, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It also has something to say. It is very much about suffering in silence and pushing away people who care about you, and um, being somewhat unwilling to face the sins of the past, the pain of the past. So there's actual thematical interesting work in Good Boy. So it's a rare indie not the dog, independent film that manages to have a gimmick that works, some meat on the bone, again, no pun intended, to chew on, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a quick movie. Uh, There are some things about it that are unsatisfying in terms of narrative. Things do not wrap up as neatly as I would like in some ways, but I do think it's a good movie. I had a good time with it. It's kind of creepy. And again, it's worth watching just to see how good a performance this dog turns in. I had heard jokes about like maybe this dog's gonna get nominated for an Academy Award. You know what? Not against it. It's about time we had the dog win. But enough of that. Let's see where Good Boy lands on our list, since um we have been dealing with a lot of kind of bad movies. Let's talk about where a good one might end up on our list. Let's start with The Cleansing Hour. Definitely better than that. Better than Under Paris. Better than They Will Kill You. Better than The House by the Cemetery, scientifically speaking. Uh, is it better or worse than Rec 3 Genesis? Probably better than Rec 3 Genesis. Is it better or worse than Arachnophobia? Arachnophobia is like a big, slick Hollywood movie. This is exactly the opposite. This is one of the reasons I like doing this, because now we are forced to compare two so wildly different movies. Um, Arachnophobia is more entertaining. It is shallower in terms of what it has to say. Uh, yeah, Good Boy's definitely no Sweet Home. Overlord is front to back a better movie. Rec 3 Genesis, is it better? It's better than Rec 3 Genesis. I think Arachnophobia is our sticking point here. Is Good Boy better or worse than Arachnophobia? Like I said, it's a Arachnophobia, big, slick, funny, has some chills, terrible Jimmy Buffett song, um, some quality Julian Sands, some good Jeff Daniels, Mimi from Drew Carey, dead with her hand in a popcorn bowl. I think Good Boy is not as good as Arachnophobia, as science has once more guided us to the truth. That said, Good Boy, your new number 19, still in the top 20. How long will it last, I ask you? Well, we only have one more movie left to talk about tonight, and it's one I've been saving. Send Help is our final movie for tonight. Send Help is the film by Sam Raimi that came out this year, right? It's a 2026 film. Am I wrong about that? Um, yeah, it came out this year. Stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. It really is a two-hander of a movie. Directed, of course, by Sam Raimi. Written by Mark Swift of Freddy versus Jason and Friday the 13th remake fame, if that does anything for you, as well as Damian Shannon, who had also co-written those films. So Sinhelm is about a somewhat nebbishy office worker played by Rachel McAdams, who is not um she is awkward and a little clumsy and a little messy, but she's not stupid and she's not completely socially inept. She's just introverted. And where the movie picks up is she is in line for promotion after the either retirement or death of the owner of the company. Unfortunately, the son of the owner of the company is taking over, and he has absolutely no interest in having someone like Rachel McAdams on his board, um, or promoted into the C-suite. Essentially, she does a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the like data analysis and statistical analysis. Like she is very good at her job, but because she lacks some social graces, he wants to promote you know a a bro that he knows who has been sort of taking credit for Rachel McAdams' work. And as fate would have it, on a trip in which Rachel McAdams is brought along so that she can brief the guy that will replace her, there's a plane crash, which is a pretty good plane crash, and Rachel McAdams and her boss, played by Dylan O'Brien, end up on a deserted island left to fend for themselves, and Dylan O'Brien is hurt. Uh, to the point that he cannot move around on a bad leg. I think it's a busted. I don't know if it's a broken leg or just a busted knee or something. Anyway, Rachel McAdams, who has an affinity for survival stuff, not in the um in the like you're next kind of way where she grew up in some weird survival cult. She just loves the show Survivor, and she loves going on survival weekends and learning about all this stuff, so that when she gets to this island she is way more prepared than her boss and ends up taking care of him. And then what happens throughout the rest of the film is this power struggle between the two. The guy who believes that he, just by nature of being who he is, ought to be in charge. And she, who is actually qualified to, get them out of this situation. Not just qualified in her job, but qualified to be sort of the alpha on the island. And so they're butting heads and um, you know, finding some a little bit of common ground here and there, but um, so it's Sam Raimi coming back every so often to do a thriller slash horror film. And can you argue that this is not a horror movie? Maybe, but it also fits pretty neatly tonally with something like Drag Me to Hell. It's got that kind of mean spirited nature to it. There's also a scene in which Rachel McAdams has to track down and kill a pig in very Lord of the Fly style. And there is a real Raimi moment with the amount of blood and the way that it just splashes directly into Rachel McAdams' face. You kind of had the sense that Sam Raimi is punishing her a little bit in a very Bruce Campbell kind of way. So uh Rachel McAdams very very good in this. Dylan O'Brien very good in this. Joseph pointing out, yeah, you can tell that Raimi is having fun in this movie. It begs the question though, how dare someone like a Sam Raimi leave the genre for a while and then come back and expect people to welcome him back with open arms? I don't know why that question has lingered, but I've thought about it a lot. Uh, all right, let's get to ranking this. Should we begin with uh I don't know if you can hear the snoring, but one of my dogs is really tearing it up beside me. Let's start with They Will Kill You. Because this is an interesting question. Is this better or worse than They Will Kill You? It's definitely better than The Cleansing Hour. It's definitely better than Infested. Way better than Silent Hill. Better than Rec 2. Better than Under Paris. It is better than We Are Still Here. It's better than Sting. It's better than Good Boy. Ooh, this is an interesting question. Is it better than Arachnophobia? Interestingly, they share some common DNA in that they're kind of horror comedies. You know what? I think this is way easier than I thought. Um, Send Help does not have a bad Jimmy Buffett song. Um, So it is better than Arachnophobia. Is it better than Overlord? Yes. Is it better than Immaculate? Yes. Is it better than Sweet Home? Ooh. Ooh, we are getting into some strange places here. Is it better than Sweet Home? Is it better than Amityville 2? Is it better than House? Let's think about this range for a second. Amityville 2 The Possession is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen in my life. It is so wildly out of left field. It is shocking. The ending is bad. The ending is a real letdown despite the sudden appearance of a Jerry Reed. Um but the highs are pretty dizzying. Um I think it's better than Sweet Home, which is really interesting, but also kind of messy in ways that Send Help is not. Send Help has a pretty tight script. Um, yeah, Joseph pointing out Amityville 2 is really skeezy, and Send Help is not. Send Help has here one of the things I really like about Send Help as we're thinking our way through this. There really isn't a clear hero or villain in Send Help. They're both good and they're both bad at various times. And so that alone, I think it bumps it up past House, past X Cross. The Stone Tape is interesting. The Stone Tape is like classic British ghost story. Like if you want to sit down and like get the good old fashioned like light a fire and have somebody tell you a good ghost story, that's where the Stone Tape falls, and it's got a tremendous conclusion. um Better than House, better than X Cross. I'm just looking above the list. It's definitely no The Hunt. I think the Hunt and Sin Help peas in a pod, but I think the Hunt is I think the Betty Gilpin performance in The Hunt alone, and also that last fight scene with her and Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank, um, is better than the final fight and Send Help. So we're in this area. We're in this area. Late Night with the Devil. Uh, Late Night with the Devil, really good. I have my qualms with the ending of that, but it's really interesting. Send Help, more polished. Mm, I think Late Night with the Devil is more interesting. I think um, the David Desmelican character is kind of tortured, and it's an interesting character study in the way that Send Help is not. Yeah, I think let's let's look at this. How do we feel about this? What if Send Help was our new number 12? And how would I like scientifically speak? Stone Tape probably better. Late Night with the Devil, Near Dark, yeah. Abigail certainly a better film. City of the Living Dead, yeah. I think that looks right. Send Help, your new number 12. And with that, folks, what's funny is I didn't know how long we were gonna go, so I actually have a second list of not movies but books. But we're not gonna do that tonight because it's we've been at this for a while. We'll do that soon. How about that? Okay. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out. This list now over 50 movies long. Keep an eye out in the Facebook group. Also, Dark Parade Pod on X and Blue Sky. I'm gonna get some Instagram going as well, I do believe. So keep an eye out. I'll keep all that stuff posted. Let everybody know when that's coming along. But yeah, Haunting 1963 unseated as our number one. But a lot of work in the bottom half of our list. Um, so next time maybe we'll focus on a couple of classics as well as the next film in the witchcraft series. Uh, hey, thanks so much. It was great seeing you guys too. This was really fun. The audio versions of episodes 3 and 4 will be up shortly, by which I mean probably by end of weekend. This will be following. And I don't know exactly how regularly we will be doing shows, but regularly enough that I'll be around. And it's great to be doing this again. I'm excited. There are, I don't know, what, 300 more movies we probably need to put on this list. How many movies have they made? How many horror movies are there? I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for watching and or listening to the Dark Parade. And I guess we'll see you next time on the Dark Parade / Ranking of Horrors. Talk to you then.